All right, we are live. Hello, and welcome to the Movement Mantra Mastermind. I am here today with Dr. Chris Collins, who is a local Chattanooga chiropractor and connector here in Chattanooga, all of the things. So I'm so excited that you are here today, and we've had so many conversations kind of throughout the last, honestly, like year or so, just kind of randomly, but more so recently, which have been just so amazing. And I know we have a really aligned vision on health, movement, different things like that, but such like complementary kind of components. So I'd love if you just gave people a little bit of an intro about yourself, what you do here in Chattanooga, and yeah, go ahead.
Well, thanks for having me on, and hello everyone who may be watching this now. I am Dr. Chris Collins, and I've been running my practice in Chattanooga for 8 years now. My wife and I started our practice with kind of a shoestring budget and a lot of passion, and we were doing this thing in chiropractic not a lot of people knew about, which is upper cervical chiropractic care. So it's a specialty in chiropractic. It's a little different than your standard chiropractic experience. But we have, developed a reputation for just being a more personalized clinic, a holistic clinic, and kind of caring about not just the whole person, but also how they find health in the community. So we do a lot of community outreach stuff as well. But yeah, we love our community and our patients and the people we get to work with, like Libby. So I'm excited to be on today chatting with you about all things health and what you've been doing too. I think is brilliant with the Health Collective and everything like that. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll kind of dive into all of that. I'm curious, like for myself and for like other people, whether it's a healthcare professional or somebody who is in the audience listening to this, what is upper cervical care? Like, what does that actually look like? How do you explain that to somebody?
Yeah, I think for most people, it's not going to mean a dang thing. Like it's if I say I'm an upper cervical chiropractor, they're like, I already don't know much about what chiropractors do, and then you said something else that I don't even know if it's related. Um, so I get that a lot, and so we can kind of break that down. But basically, it means that I focus on, and my primary work is making sure that the upper spine and the upper neck, those first two bones, which there's a reason it's just those two bones, but that area is healthy. That area is extremely impactful for your entire body, especially your nervous system, and the way that your brain and your body communicate. So the first two bones in your spine are also the most differently shaped of any other spinal bones. All the other spinal bones are like puzzle pieces. They fit together in very predictable ways. They have very predictable movement patterns. For us, when we look at that area, it's very unique. It's really mobile where it should be. And so a lot of people don't know sometimes when they have underlying issues here, it's impacting a lot of function, not just for the spine, for posture, for energy, for rest, and all that kind of ties back to the nervous system. So it's a bigger conversation. Usually we have to kind of start from just like, let's just talk about your health first and see if you're a good fit for our practice. And we do screenings with people and that kind of thing. But there's a lot more I could say, but that kind of gives you an idea of why we even focus there, why it's important.
Yeah. And when we start to, because everything is connected, and I think that that's obviously something that you and I have talked about a lot, is that the whole body working as a system and these components are in pieces of the puzzle, like helping to work together to really create more whole body health. And a lot of times in our current healthcare system and even in various sectors of the wellness sphere, things are so siloed and separated. And a lot of times practitioners aren't necessarily looking at the full picture or how something can impact downstream or what upstream effects are causing these downstream things. And so that's something I really appreciate about your practice as well, is that you really do take all of that into consideration, and not trying to overwhelm people with the details of the anatomy and everything, but just really giving them that full picture health. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and the biggest intersection I think we find people in, and you've probably seen this too, is that people just get really frustrated finding the right practitioner in the first place. Sometimes, you're clicking an ad that seems like a good deal, and then all of a sudden you're roped into this like huge commitment, and then you spend a bunch of money and you weren't sure if it was even worth it. So by the time a lot of people find a good practitioner, it's like, hey, I've tried a bunch of stuff. I still feel really stuck in my health. I feel like I'm doing everything I should be doing, but I'm not getting the results I want. I just need to talk to somebody who's not here to take my wallet, who's like, just, or who will spend the time with me. And sometimes it's not always about money, but it's just about the time that you get to talk to somebody who's qualified, who you feel comfortable with. So that just comes back to good, being a good provider in health, right?
100%. And I think that that's something that as a chiropractor and as a physical therapist, a lot of times we will see people kind of as that first entry point, maybe, or maybe not the first entry point. They've been through the system, but we're the people who actually get to be the first ones to listen to their whole story. Because a lot of times, if they are, going through the traditional system that we, or the Western system that we have here in the US, then their doctor maybe spends 7 minutes with them, less than 10 minutes with them.
Yeah.
And there's no way to possibly understand what's going on with somebody in that short amount of time. So being able to take the time with somebody and actually hear their story and hear what they're dealing with is really important for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you think about kind of how chiropractic care, and it could be chiropractic care in general or your practice specifically, how do you start to look at that full picture for somebody? And maybe it is, from what their movement styles are, or how do you start to connect all of the different pieces of the puzzle for that person and maybe start that conversation, because it is a long conversation. It's an evolving conversation about what health maybe can look like for that person. But where do you kind of start? Or maybe do you have a starting point? Is it different for everybody?
Well, I think most people, it's starting with a conversation. It's starting with, understanding what their walk of life is like, what they're trying to accomplish. And especially if they have some result that they're trying to get. Like I want to be able to play tennis again, but like my shoulder and I've got radiation down my arm, and I'm starting to notice that when I'm sleeping, and it's really beginning to worry me that something else is going on. Or, I've done a hormone panel and I am like sleeping okay. I'm tracking my HRV and it's like, okay, but I'm still having migraines. And I don't know really if that's just stress. Like I'm really stressed out, but I don't know how to stop, so sometimes these are just the things people are experiencing. And they're like, I don't really know what's going on, but I feel like it may be something to do with my body and my nervous system, maybe my spine. I don't know. They're kind of trying to sort that out. And sometimes it's like, I really hope that there's not something really bad going on with the nerves, because sometimes it feels that is the case. But then I went and I got, checked in, had a terrible thing happen and went to the ER, and then they cleared me. So people are really trying to sort through that. And then they're leaving these places that should have given them more information, like a doctor's office, right? The 7 minutes you spent with the provider and you had questions and you came prepared. And then they sort of were like, we can't really find anything. And then you're like, so what next? They're like, nothing really. Try PT is like usually what people get.
Yeah.
And then they're like, who do I go see? They're like, I don't know. It's just, I think people are so frustrated just at that point. So all that to say, it starts with a conversation and then breaking down. Yes, there's a lot of different things, ins and outs, but there are some foundational systems we can check first. What we do in our office, we start with testing the nervous system. And then we also look at, their posture, how their muscles are balanced. Are we seeing any patterns that show they've got some, dysfunction? Maybe it's a conditioning issue or an area that's, some underlying thing that's been there a long time. The same way if you went to a dentist and you were like, I don't know if I have cavities or not, I don't really have tooth pain. The dentist could still look at your teeth and be like, well, you got some signs of a cavity, but I have to take some x-rays and see how bad that is. That's very similar to how we approach chiropractic care. It's like, we've got some signs that things could be out of balance. Let's just take a deeper look.
Yep, 100%. And getting kind of deeper, a little bit of a deeper dive into all of that is super important, and helps give people maybe some more clarity, hopefully, on everything as the pieces of the puzzle kind of come together over time. And thinking about all of that, because so you mentioned like stress and then kind of these other health components. So thinking about like stress, sleep, recovery, even maybe fear, or how mental health kind of comes into all of these as well. I know that that's something that I see when somebody is really struggling to get better with a physical injury or something that's presenting as a physical injury. These components definitely play a huge part in their ability or inability to actually recover well. And I'm sure that you see that in your practice as well with your clients and your patients. I mean, I have my kind of little things that I tell people, but what are some of the things that maybe you usually tell people to kind of help with that? Because I have my own spiel, but
I'm curious. Well, tell me your spiel first.
well, I think one of the things, and this is something that for me personally,
Yeah.
I struggle with is sleep. Like not sleeping itself, but like a sleep routine or being consistent with sleep. I have
You're
a
finding this for
super
clients or for yourself?
for myself.
Yeah.
This is for myself. So I know though, but I know, and was a running joke when I was in physical therapy school, was that if I got like 6 hours of sleep 2 or 3 days in a row, my professors were like, Libby, go home and take a nap. Like, you do not want to be around me. I am like even more stressed out. I
Yeah.
am cranky. I not like I'm not performing well. Like my brain just is not working. And I knew I wasn't recovering. And so a lot of times I do talk with people a lot about sleep, trying to get more sleep, and something that I have to tell myself that I need to work on as well.
Yeah.
How to like create those routines in the evening, and then also from what other types of recovery aspects they're doing um in in their life. And a lot of times
Right.
from a physical standpoint, they only ever had rest equaling recovery.
Mm.
And rest is not necessarily the same as recovery. Yes, we need rest and like sleep and all of that, but I will generally also talk to them about what recovery looks like from a physical standpoint. And a lot of times it's, maybe more gentle movement, but not completely stopping movement for somebody who has a musculoskeletal injury. Because a lot of times there's a woman who I've been working with knee pain, and one person is telling her just to not do anything for like 6 months, and then but she really is super active and she wants to keep playing soccer and running and do all of these things. And so it's finding that middle ground of recovery from the stress point of view, with stressful job, all of that. How do we sleep? How do we recover actively? And then making sure that she's not fearful of like actually moving her knee in doing certain things, because then that's a whole other component I feel like that comes into play, and telling people it's okay for us to like kind of feel some stuff, but there's bandwidth, and teaching people how to like
Yeah.
understand their own bandwidth. Anyway, that was kind of a
That's
long.
great. No, yeah, and what I picked up from that is like it's very kind of meeting people where they're at in the unique struggle that they may be in. Like for example, you gave like your struggle in when you're in school, in grad school, or somebody who's in a work environment, or somebody who's like had an injury to a knee or like a bad knee, and then they're supposed to stay off of it, but they want some movement. And this is essentially like the very first starting point that you talk with anyone about, is just making sure that it's practical for them.
Right.
Such a good conversation, because what a lot of people do is they go into some place and the doctor says, well, you need to sign up for a program, do 5 times a week, 20 minutes a day of this, or you need to go to bed at this time every night, or get 8 hours of sleep every night. These are the recommendations for everybody. And so you get compared to these averages, whatever they may be. And so for one person, maybe they do run off of 7 hours of sleep just fine. And for the next person, they need like 9 hours. For another person, maybe they're like in some sweet spot there, but they need that like afternoon, like wind down nap, right? Or something like that. And this is where I think, coming back to that conversation we're having with the person, I always like to start with the idea that I know that most people have a vision of what they want their health to look like. They've got it in their brains. Like, I see myself doing this. I see myself waking up in the morning and I'm like peaceful and having tea and it's quiet. And I'm like on my yoga mat, like reading and journaling a little bit. But then the reality is their kids have gotten them out of bed before they wanted to, or they didn't get up early enough, or like they didn't have any time to themselves, because I'm thinking about kids because I've got 2 kids that are like the next door neighbor's house right now playing with Legos. But, I'm like, just if you need anything, scream. Yeah, that's right. Holler. We say holler in the South.
Holler.
That's right. Holler at me. So I got the windows open and everything. My kids are over there.
That's hilarious.
But there's a mom over there, by the way. So she and I
are
are communicating. Yeah. We're like, yeah, they're not just by themselves. But if you think about that, like, I think that just coming back to lifestyle and being interested in their lifestyle, what does your lifestyle equation look like? Mm-hmm. For a lot of people too, they may even say, well, yes, it feels stressful, but like what I'm doing, I'm not going to stop doing. Like, say if it was a parent, or if it was someone who is in like their dream job and they're working more than they've ever worked, but they're in their dream job, right? That's a good thing. They're like, I don't think it's stressful. I enjoy my work. They're performance oriented, whatever it is. So they're like, I don't think it's stressful. And where I would reframe is say, well, that is still demanding. Like it's how demanding is your life, is another way to say how stressful it is, because it's still stress coming in. You may be adapting to that and performing well, but it's just, how do you manage your life around that? And I think it's starting with something more practical than whatever the average recommendation is. If exercise is happening 0 times a week right now, we can't go to 5 times a week. We need to start with just like one ideal day. So a lot of times I'll tell people, like, just create one ideal recovery day where you can wake up and have the routine you want. And you've got like whatever parameters set up to allow you to do that. You've got like some exercise or movement in there, some journaling and planning. And we use an acronym called DREAM. So it's diet, rest, emotions, attitude, movement. So if you can like, it's your dream life, right? Yeah. So if you can fill those things out of like, these are just my intentions for the week. Mm-hmm. And it gives you just a system of thinking. Then you can say, well, I know that these are the nights I'll be able to get good rest. These are the nights might be a little funny this week. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's just getting people to have a sense that they're a little bit ahead on this. You're almost allowing people to build systems for themselves to thrive in their health and at home. The nice thing about systems is systems don't get tired. People get tired. Your systems, it gets to where you don't have to think about it. And you don't get decision fatigue when you're just rolling through a system. And so it works in business, and it also works at home. And that consistency and that habit is what really helps people feel like they're like, oh yeah, I have a sense of like I'm getting to where I want to, like closer to my vision, because it's always that gap. Like, how do we bridge that gap? So those are some, like, talking about stress and managing stress. It's like, I think a lot of that stress and demand comes from decision fatigue. There's just too many things I have to decide about doing. I know I need to do something. That's why I'm talking to you. I don't want to make the decision. You just need to tell me what to do. So a lot of times it's like, okay, I will take control like of that first part of it, just to get you to where we're like, at least the nervous system's healthy, or at least your body's feeling a little bit better. But on the back end of that, we try to build out conversations around, okay, now that we've gotten like taken care of some of the just things that felt weighty in your health, and things maybe you didn't even know were going on. You're like, I've got more mental clarity now. I've been resting better. I have like a college student that started recently that she's like, I'm just amazed at the energy I have right now since I've started, because I just thought I was a college student getting older and it was the food that I was eating. But she's like, I haven't changed anything else except for this. And then now my energy's back, and my like HRV and my wearable data is improving. I was like, yeah, that's a spinal nervous system thing going on, Yeah. Anyways, rambling, but that's like, these are great conversations to have with people. And I think what's fun about it is that as soon as they get permission to talk about this stuff, they're like, yes, I do have a vision. In fact, this is what it is, exactly like this. And they're like, I would do this. I would do that. I would be traveling more than I am right now. But I feel like I just can't make these decisions or get online and book anything. I'm just feeling stuck,
Yeah, no, that is so true. And I love that DREAM acronym. That is so good. I think when we put things down in writing, and when that's one of the biggest benefits of journaling, and being able to physically take what's going up in your brain and putting it onto a piece of paper, and actually then visually being able to see that and identify with it, it gives you, like you said, at least like a place to start from. And then I talk about this a lot with people too, is the 1% better from Atomic Habits. And
Totally. Yeah, it's so good.
yeah, right. And so, and then even if that, maybe we write down that full ideal day, and that, like you said, not every day is going to be able
Yeah.
to be that dream day. But if we can take one action piece from that and then slowly over the course of time build those habits and systems into our daily life through action, then it just automatically, we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, that was my dream day.
Yeah.
It was created. And it happens slowly over time. And I think that a lot of times people, like, we're getting towards the new year, I think I hear this a lot more as we get towards those New Year's resolutions and all of it. And I even do it and have done it in myself in the past, where I'm like, I'm going to revamp my nighttime schedule and I'm going to just nail it every day. And it's, not going to happen exactly that way. But if I can implement one little thing, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's reading a paragraph of a book at night, or whatever that is, I think that's a really helpful tool for people to start to break down their day. And I think then when there's a clear vision, like what you described, then it's easier to kind of say, okay, well, this is where I am, this is where I want to be. And now we have to bridge the gap, which is then where somebody like yourself or myself, a coach, chiropractor, could be other mental health provider, whatever it is, maybe can give tools to then help bridge that gap between kind of where somebody is and where they want to be. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And I think there, like you said, there's a lot of room for people to do things at home. Sometimes it is that, they need guidance, they need tools, and even stuff like this. It's like you can implement. I was thinking about the ideal day thing, and a lot of the moms I take care of in practice, for example, I know would be saying, I can't do an entire day,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, can you do a 2-hour block? Cause that's the amount of free time that you'll get. Like sometimes it's like freed up 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You could run a SAVER routine, SAVER, silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading or writing.
Ooh,
So, and
like
it kind of like gives you a stack of things to fit into 2 hours, where you feel like a sense that, okay, I had enough time to kind of prepare and like move my body, think differently. And you could, I think it's like once you get that reward of like, I've done this, and then I have the clarity, then I feel like I've given myself back some self-respect, like, because everyone else is taking my time away from me. And then like, now I've just drawn it back in. Like my energy was going out. I needed to pull that energy back into me and take some for myself so that I can give out again. Also, something you said that was good, I think, where practitioners come in a lot of times, and what we talk to our clients about are those things that you can't control. It's like that you don't really know are there, that you can't correct on your own. That's really where, you've got an advantage with working with someone like Libby or me, or a mental health person, like a therapist or a counselor. It's like, I don't know where I'm missing things. I don't know my own patterns well, and I need someone else to help me define these, to be able to remove whatever interference it is that's out of my control to do. So that's where, someone like us can kind of come in and help alleviate that, so that they can get to those things that they can control.
100%. And that was a conversation I had with a few people, was that, we've gone to school for a lot of years to be able to have the knowledge of the human body in different ways, but having a knowledge set that people aren't expected, like a general person is not expected to know exactly all of the different inner workings of the nervous system, or how every muscle connects to the bones and the movement patterns and all of that. And so, having somebody to be a guide, in many ways, and I have my own coaches and my own mentors for things that I don't know anything, or I'm learning about, but I don't have, a bandwidth.
You're not an expert in.
I'm not an expert in, right? And so, that's something that I think is really important for people to feel, comfortable with that, and acknowledge that it's okay to not know everything about their body, and ask for help when they need it, because I think that that's something a lot of people maybe struggle with, asking for help when they think that they should be that keeper of all knowledge about their body. And in reality, we only know as much as we do. And so we have to keep seeking knowledge. We have to keep learning more, and asking for help when we need it. So
totally.
Yeah.
There's a great, I forget the book now that I'm thinking, but it's like, what's the most courageous thing you've ever done? And it's like a little animal asking the boy, and no, the boy asked the animal, and the animal's like, asking for help is the most courageous thing I've ever done. I was like, wow, this is super good.
That is really good. I think it's an important life lesson.
Yeah.
100%. So I know this is something that we have, we'll have talked about and we'll continue to talk about, I'm sure. But with thinking about the connection between, did I freeze? Oh yeah, there you go. Thinking about the connection between different healthcare professionals and creating the interconnectedness of systems between healthcare providers, say me as a physical therapist, you as a chiropractor, maybe a mental health therapist or a personal trainer, or herbalist or nutritionist, dietitian. There are all of these different facets of health, like we just talked about, that, these other people are experts. We're all experts in our own little niche of health and wellness. How do you go about, so I mean, I'll talk a little bit about the Human Health Collective, but how do you kind of go about starting to connect those dots for somebody, maybe whether it's a patient or client, or just for yourself to have more personal relationships with other practitioners who have the same value set as you do, and I do as well?
Yeah, you're talking about collaboration in particular, I think. Yeah. Well, I think it's knowing what I do well and also knowing what I don't do at all. Like, I don't do any PT in my office. And so some chiropractors do. It may sound funny to you for me to say that, but there are chiropractors who run everything in their office, and they're also providing PT and training and needling and taping and ice. And some people have these roller tables you jump on and they roll you and get all your body all loosened up. You ever seen those? I know. There are reasons for all those things. A lot of them have to do with pain management, like the roller tables and some of the things you might see in chiropractic side of things, especially when it's billing insurance, because you can bill for all of that stuff. Insurance doesn't reimburse great for like anybody, whether it's chiropractors or anybody else. They're not, unless it's medication, they'll reimburse pretty well for medication because that's a big business. But yeah, there are like the pain management models, and then there are like more of the private payoff offices, right? So I do a really particular thing. We look for interference in the nervous system. The way we do that is we run scans using thermography. We watch patterns over time. We determine if someone's got issues with their nervous system functioning correctly. So if they have nervous system dysregulation, we can detect that. We look for those problems in the spine that may be causing that. If we find that they're there, we look at how to correct those over time. And then we want people to hold over time. If they can hold, then they get back to the lifestyle things. They don't need to rely on us as much and see us as much. That's awesome. So that's like the whole point, is to get people back to that state of autonomy, that we're not having to rely on providers too much. We're able to correct these underlying issues that may be very chronic and causing them not just issues in the real time, but 10 and 20 years down the road. We're helping them avoid things like arthritis, degeneration. Some of these people are like suffering with migraines and vertigo and really hard neurological things, right? So it's a huge value that we can provide in the office. But say somebody comes in, we're doing our workup, we're working through the first progress period, and I say, I'm hearing that we're still dealing with a lot of this low back, these issues, which have improved maybe since you've been in, but you're still noticing that it seems like you're really weak in your core, and you're thinking about Pilates, you're thinking about yoga, and you're thinking about PT. So, what I would say is maybe using some kind of like hybrid between someone who's able to look at these functional patterns, because I can see you do have a weak core, but you're also like your pelvic tilt and the way that you're posturing, you're using this area based on years of being like a volleyball player, and you were doing a lot of like jumping up and down and condition these muscles to be this way. Or you were a dancer and you've got a lot of mobility without a lot of strength and stability. So we need to like look at a conditioning conversation. The best person to serve you there is either a really good trainer who's got, like some ideas like of how to balance that out, who'd be the people for that, or someone like Libby who knows about movement patterns and PT, and like you're kind of getting like the best of both worlds there. And then they may be like, I'm really, we're trying to figure out something like potentially just the pain management side. Maybe find somebody who's doing needling too. So I think that person's like leaning more and more towards a PT referral, right? And so they're like, I think I'm getting better with this. I do need extra help that you don't provide in the office, right? And it would take a lot for me to do my work and do this other thing. And the best thing I can do is do a really good job with what I'm still working on, stabilizing there, and then co-manage with a PT. So that's a like easy example. Someone else might just be like, I'm just looking for a personal trainer. Who do you recommend? And I'd be like, well, you might want to check out Libby. You might want to check out
the benefit of both.
That's right. We work with Forte Fitness. You might want to check them out. They're like, no, I'm at the YMCA. I just want something like really basic. And I'm like, check in with the YMCA. Sometimes they're pretty good. Like, it just depends on who you're working with. And they may go through there for a little while and say, I don't really love this trainer. Do you have somebody that's a little more involved looking at movement patterns? Okay, we need to have a different provider for that. So I'm just always in those conversations with patients as far as what they're trying to create. They may ask for an acupuncturist. They may ask for a massage therapist who works on lymphatic drainage. Okay, there's like 2 or 3 people that I would think of. There's a PT route for that. There's a massage route for that. You could also look at acupuncture for that. It's like, so I'm kind of managing some of those conversations that way with people. And then I think it's like the same with like nutrition. If somebody was wanting a blood panel, you can go to standard blood panel through your primary. If you want like a functional medicine person, Nutrition World's got a lot of different options there. We've got some great things in town like that. I've got some outside providers if someone's wanting like a lot of personalization, food intolerance testing. People who are like focused on women's peri, post, and premenopause, stuff like that. I work with a lot of women, by the way. So a lot of the focus sometimes is like, I just need to make sure my network is inclusive of the needs that they need met. So
right, 100%.
That's I'm kind of proactively looking at providers to see what they offer. And then other people want to know where we send and stuff like that. I had a chiropractor call me last week. He was like, "Who do you send to for insurance?" And because he's like, "I don't want to send to this. I won't say who. They're like a very big chain in town." And I was like, "Oh, you need to go over to Lookout Valley Chiro because they take insurance over there, and he's a good doc, So yeah, it's just things like that. I mean, we just we know that there are some people that we're just the perfect fit for, and so we're just kind of focused on making sure that we're serving well those people that need to find us, that we need to help. So
that's awesome, and that's something that like I'm always so curious, and like one of the reasons I'm curious to have these conversations through these mastermind lives, but then also through the Human Health Collective event is to help build and create those connections, because every person has their own set of your background, there are things that they struggle with, and where they are in life, their environment, their the whole thing, their whole life situation at a given time might require more of these kind of like different things, and then also people's personalities might jive a bit more with one person versus another. And so I think that that's something that I realized when people would come to me and say, "Hey, who would you recommend for this and such a thing?" And one, I didn't really have a great network built out yet. And so that's one of the biggest reasons when I first started the Human Health Collective was like, I want to get to know these people. Like, where are all these people that I know are out there? It's been so cool. I've had so many conversations over the last couple months just connecting about health and wellness, and to really see how many people have an aligned vision about what connected and holistic care really can look like. But that's something that I really have a big passion for too, is creating those connections without competition, because every person, every client or patient has their own little world, and they will fit perfectly into somebody else's, or, you know, a certain group of people's worlds, but maybe they won't jive with somebody else. Maybe they'll jive with this person better. So being able to like have people be able to choose and have enough options, and then for myself being able to have people in my kind of mind of, oh yeah, I think this person would do better over here, or this is a little bit more specific towards their needs. It's really helpful, and it's been beneficial to be able to say, oh yeah, like you need a pelvic floor therapist, and like this is because of this and this, like this is the person that I think you should go to. So it's been really cool to be able to start to create it, and it's just
Yeah.
evolving and starting.
Well,
But
and the
I'm really
more you learn too, right? Like I know with pelvic floor, that's something, 3 or 4 years ago, like not a lot of people were having those conversations. It's still new. And then they were like, oh, this is, it's become a lot more well known. It wasn't until like, I want to say 2 years ago that the nervous system regulation keyword was even popping off. Like most people didn't talk about the nervous system, and now everybody's a nervous system expert. It's really funny. Like, I'm like, okay, like this is your nervous system. They're like, I'm a nervous system. It'll be like, I don't know, just like you could add that into the conversation about anything that is like, but I think that there are some really good ones out there that are also probably listening to this and being like, yes, it seems like I did this thing and I program, work through these programs like this, which helps people retrain, patterns in their behavior, their breath, their systems, etc. But then you have people who are just like using it because it's like a hot topic word now. What am I trying to say? The
trending
fad
kind
word.
of.
It's like a fad. Yeah. And so they're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is trending. So then I'm using the old word for trending, which is fad. This is probably a very boomer thing for me to do. And I'm not even a boomer.
But we're gonna start having to be called
Okay,
like
boomer.
the millennials. Like I'm just like
I don't know. Millennials, yeah, we're in the tough place between, or the bridge. but yeah, I think it's finding the right fit. And I think it's also like making sure that you kind of are continuing to learn about other people out there in the world. Like people learn about upper cervical work, and they're like, this is great that you are so specialized up here, because I've been worried about just letting anyone touch that area because it seems really sensitive and it makes me nervous. And I don't want one of those twisty adjustments. Do you do those? And I'm like, no, we don't. And they're like, that's great, because I was hoping you didn't. And they're like, I was hoping you wouldn't adjust every time. Yeah, we don't adjust every time because you may be holding your adjustment and not need it. That's awesome. Do you take x-rays too? Yes, they're actually specialized. That's awesome. I was hoping you would take specialized x-rays. Like people will come in and they're like, I've been like looking for somebody like you. I don't even know it existed. Or someone to send to like you, because I don't want to just send to anybody who's like just pushing on a joint that feels stuck. We have that conversation with people who pop their own backs all the time. Like, oh, I give myself self adjustments. And I'm like, I wouldn't call that, that's just a manipulation. But I wouldn't call it an adjustment. An adjustment would restore like nervous system integrity, right? But like manipulation, just like to pop the joint, we're just pressurizing joints. And then if you're also over mobilizing your thoracic spine with these, what other areas are potentially destabilizing because you're over mobilizing an area of structure? You could get into like the weeds on that whole conversation.
Right. 100%. You go down all the ways. Well, and that's where it's, again, it kind of goes down as like people, might not, there's kind of the thought that maybe we have about what we're doing. And then there's the science underneath it that, and the nuance and the rabbit holes that you could go down.
Totally.
Understanding all of this. But being able to challenge people nicely within their thoughts, because I think that is something too, a lot of times is there's, and with this, so for example, with the trending stuff, social media is its own beast, but especially in health and wellness. And it's so polarized, especially online, because that is what, creates the buzz. But I think I've asked actually several people this, but I'm curious, what are some of the trends or the things that you see online that you're just like, oh no?
It's like,
Or what are some of those things that you've had to dispel for your clientele when they come
yeah.
in, they're like, I saw this thing on TikTok and da da da.
Yeah. The nervous system regulation thing is one of those.
Mhm.
I think, I don't know. Part of it is I think it's good that it's becoming more accessible to just talk about it. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So like, for example, while I can be like, okay, we've been talking about the nervous system for a long time and feel validated that like, I'm glad other people are starting to talk about it. Because it actually just makes the conversation more comfortable for me. I'm not having to explain the nervous system for the first time to someone, or the idea that you could get stuck in sympathetic overdrive and your body feels like it's stuck in fight and flight.
Mhm.
Like 10 years ago, talking to people about fight and flight, they're like, I haven't heard that or think about that. I don't know what you're talking about, right? Like they're just like, I fight and flight. Like, what does that mean to me? Now, most people I would say I talk to are like, oh, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Um, or yeah, you just have to, it's developing language. So I think some of it is okay. And I think all fads, they wouldn't be fads if they didn't point to some truths.
Mm.
So I think it's just making sure that we like have those conversations. I don't love the new, I don't even know if it's chiropractors or people who hate chiropractors who are making them, but they're like AI videos of guys like picking up grandmas and then throwing them through the wall.
Wait,
And they're
what?
like, yes, it's like I get Chiro algorithm stuff all the time, which is really funny. I also, if you're a chiropractor watching this, I get your ads. Like your
Mm.
clients, I don't even think that your prospects are not getting your ads. It's just people who are interested in chiropractic, which happens to be chiropractors. The
Yep.
majority of the population is like 10 to 12% of utilization in chiropractic are probably not even looking up chiropractic stuff. It is more common now because chiropractic is like trending, like the pop ASMR videos. I also think
Mm.
it's cringy. Like a lot of those they use like the uh, sexualization or sensualization in marketing. So they'll put like a woman in a bikini and then they're giving her an adjustment. And it's like, this is like
My algorithm.
making my profession look so bad. So, I mean, we don't do that.
Yeah.
And then I think what I like about trends, like some people, they're like, do we need to do funny dancing videos and stuff like that? We do silly videos like with our office just for fun. Like it's like we try to find tasteful ones to do. What's interesting though, like about the algorithm, this is a marketing conversation, but I think that a lot of people who follow trending videos are other health practices, oftentimes trying to build their pages. So then they may find your page while you're building something that they would like to also do a trending video of, which is kind of
Mm.
nice because then they're like I remember I really love Beam Dental's videos that they do. So I love following them. And
Mm.
then it just puts them top of mind to me because I'm like, Beam Dental did this funny. They're like really easy to get to know. They're like the kid's dentist.
I love it.
So now I know about them because of their trending video, but I'm a practitioner, not the client base. But it's like good for your referrals and distribution to do
Yeah.
some of those videos. So I mean, like from a business owner standpoint, I think of those things of like I need to do these videos for other practitioners in the area that may want to send to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, it's so funny. Like it is so true because a lot of my content is like other physical therapists or like a lot of online coaches because that's kind of where I've been trying
yeah.
to look at how do I work within my own marketing and that sort of thing. And so I'm watching a lot of what their stuff is. And then I get all of these other coaches reaching out being like, hey, so do you need coaching? I'm like, well, I mean, maybe, but I'm not looking for it really. Like
But
they're not
I've got 3 already. I've got 3 coaches. I keep
it's
getting sold on you guys.
like,
You'll solve a lot of problems.
so it's so
Uh,
true. But
but
yeah,
they also, I think social media is getting so good with messaging, like understanding language that people need to hear.
yeah,
And it'll be like, hey, are you dealing with blah, blah, blah? Have you tried this, and that? Have you spent tons of money, yada, yada, yada? And then are you looking to solve this? It's just one easy PDF away. All you got to do is download this from my checklist, comment below, blah. And then they'll say, you know, just say blah. And then people are like, blah, 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 going down the thing to get the PDF. And you just get wrapped up in it. I mean, there's been times with Erin, my wife, and we're like, I don't know if I'm getting, I'm like in their sales cycle, and then it's working on me. I can't stop it. It's like too good. And then we just get roped in, and it's like, sometimes it's a good fit. And sometimes we're like, man, I'm a sucker. Just trying to get help over here. But yeah.
I have 1000% done that. Like I have one email, like an AOL account email that is totally going off topic, but I have an AOL account email. I've gotten so many PDF guides from various things. And I think it's funny because when you talk about a messaging standpoint, and it's something that I think we kind of started this conversation, and I'd be curious to keep on with this conversation in some capacity at some time, but like the messaging, how to really communicate to the ideal person who is out there who needs help, who needs your help specifically or needs my help specifically. And messaging is so important. And I know that personally, I have struggled with, okay, I, do all of these different things. And it all comes together, but the messaging maybe sometimes gets muddled or unclear. And that's something that I've been working on. And, speaking to that person out there who really does value health and wellness and maybe does feel stuck in some capacity, and work with a lot of entrepreneurs, people who work for themselves or really career driven, and they just can't seem to find the time within their busy lives to actually also give back to their health, even though they know it's so important. But yeah, I don't know, from a messaging standpoint, have you kind of found who that ideal avatar maybe is for you? I know that we kind of started that conversation a little bit at Common House, but it was a while ago.
Yeah. I mean, the people I work with the most are like busy families. So it's like a lot of times mom is either a really dedicated, like stay-at-home mom. She's building a home and, doing just everything for her family. I mean, she's like giving her 110%, right? And then dad's working a lot, and they're trying to like get work-life balance and doing a decent job of it. It's just a lot, right? And they're just looking for the right provider that is gonna, when they come in, they're like, I can come in, I can bring my kids to you. Y'all aren't so like hurting people in and out that we feel like we're just like getting run over, but we feel like, we can lean on you, text you, ask you questions.
Yeah.
So busy families, we help a lot. And that's who I enjoy helping with. And I've got certifications to work with kids through their milestones too. So talk about neurodifferences and behavioral milestones that they should be seeing. We help a lot of kids with like ear infections and stuff like that, because that's all kind of related to that eustachian tube up at the top. And sometimes there can be early imbalances from birth that happen from like just the birthing processes create stress on the neck. And sometimes that stress is the very first stress you've ever encountered, which is also why it's way more common than people realize for you to have an undetected issue in your upper neck. So it's very like gentle. We kind of move through that, and kids bounce back way quick and don't usually need a lot of support, but we're there when they need it. And then I think from a practice relevancy standpoint, there are definitely like the upper cervical spine, that area of the brainstem, migraines, vertigo, and chronic conditions like chronic fatigue or complex neuro stuff. If you have those things like Meniere's and ALS and just like stuff that I don't need to just run in anywhere and they're kind of running me through the motions and I'm getting like pop real quick and then run out. Like I want somebody to sit down with me and talk to me and tell me straight up what I need and not give me more than I need either. A lot of people with migraines don't recover because they're getting over treated. Because when you're dealing with a migraine, you want to throw everything at it. It's like, even at the ER, they'll throw you a cocktail of like all these medications and you're like trying ice and everything to try to get it to die down. And so you really have to do a lot of hand holding and take it slowly. That's how we work with a lot of migraines. So from a condition standpoint, that's ideal. From just like a personal, who I loved helping is families. I love helping families.
Yeah, definitely. No,
and especially like the busier, that's like a puzzle for me. I'm like, you guys are really busy and overwhelmed. Like, throw me in there because I want to like just sort out and be like, what can we do?
Yeah.
Because it's also validating to have someone be like, oh yeah, like I wouldn't recommend you do this. I would say you probably feel better doing this other thing. And they're like, well, I thought that too, but then I thought it wasn't going to be okay because of this or this or that, you know. So
100.
it's just good being able to finally talk to someone and you like you like can sigh and be like, you or I just wanted I wish I met you like 3 years ago. Those are like great conversations I have with people. So
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah.
No.
What about I know you may have already said on this before, but yeah, what would you say for yourself? Like who are the people that you just really love connecting with?
Yeah. So when I really think about a little bit more on the coaching aspect and the people who I really love to work with from a coaching side of things, it's I kind of see a lot of my old self in the people that I help. So it's people who a lot of times are either, really stressed out or have maybe kind of more of a high anxious kind of baseline, and feel like they need to be doing everything to the max, basically. So for me, when I was going through kind of a lot of my health journeys, like running, lifting, doing all of these things. So not finding the time to actually recover or not figuring out how to create more balance. And I say this all the time, that there's no really such thing as balance. It's a constant ebb and flow of things, but creating the evolving balance of what life looks like. So a lot of times that is those busy professionals, whether they're entrepreneurs or just really career driven, people who are super, super driven just in general. And there's generally two sides of it. It's either the person who's doing way too much and cannot take a break or doesn't know how to take a break, and find that rest and recovery, or it's the person who's so driven in their job and they know that they need health. They have all of these, maybe they have goals and ambitions as to what their health should look like, or they feel guilty that they're not actually doing those things for their health. And then that kind of avatar of a person being able to help integrate little pieces at a time of what health can be for them, basically what a healthy lifestyle can actually like evolve into. And I love the puzzle together, those like the busy people where it's like, how can maybe like a 3-minute desk workout, like can you fit in 3 minutes? And a lot of times I'll kind of self audit with people. It's like, okay, how long did you spend doom scrolling on Instagram? Because I know I do it, so I'm sure you do it too,
Yeah.
and so how can we maybe take that down and implement something else, or using, again, I always come back to a lot of atomic habits, but I
Yeah,
love,
like replacing habits.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%, and kind of swapping or like pairing things, like, okay, if we're watching our favorite TV show, maybe we're also, maybe that person needs to hold a plank or do 10 squats or whatever it is, just literally tiny little pieces. And so, yeah, generally my two kind of people that I love to work with, they're both very busy, driven people. Sometimes people are doing way too much and some people are not doing enough on the health side of things, but they're doing way too much in their, maybe their system is just overrun by doing so many other things, whether it is from a family perspective, but a lot of times like super career driven people that are traveling and doing all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
That's good. Cool. Good to know.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's a huge benefit, like just to be able to the point of decision fatigue. It's like, I just want to come in and you tell me what to do. It sounds amazing. That's one reason I like working with trainers in different seasons is like, yeah, it's so much on my plate that it's just nice to come in and I can write my own exercise plan, but when someone else just tells me what to do, I'm like, sure. And I'm going to do way more sets and reps with you watching me than I was going to do this on my own and be like, oh, okay, I'll go ahead and cut out. I got 2 sets in. That's enough.
Yeah,
I need to give myself grace and space. They're like, no, you're going to do a third set. I'm like, I know how to do a third set. Okay. I just don't
100%.
want to. Yeah. Start small.
Yeah, and I think that that's something I love. So I teach the classes at Common House in the morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I've got a really good group of people that come consistently now. And it's fun because we can all kind of give each other a little bit of, yeah, a little bit of
Push.
driving, a little bit of push. It's a fun atmosphere because people are, oh well, they, they did their full amount over here, the full 3 sets or whatever. Like I can't slack off and, just do the 2 or whatever. Whatever it looks like. But it's fun to have that community aspect for sure within all things health and wellness, whether it's online communities, whether it's in person. I feel like that's something that I have become even more and more of a proponent of, alongside with the Human Health Collective, is finding community within all of this, because I think that is maybe that's been the final missing piece for me, at least in my own kind of journey. And things are obviously still always evolving, but community was something that I really realized that this year that I was missing in different ways in my life. And that creating community around the things that I really value and that I really have passion around has led me to not only, helping more people, but really beautiful friendships and connections. And I've been really, really grateful for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think we all need that feeling, like to belong to something. And that's, I think, that social part of our health we overlook sometimes. That became really prevalent for people to stop socializing after COVID. And like, we just have to acknowledge, we have to call it what it was. It's like very traumatic socially for our society. And to get back out feels uncomfortable. To get into those uncomfortable situations and be held accountable, like, doesn't feel good. I love, like we've kind of talked about on this talk with habits, it's like you have that vision, and then once you get awareness around what you want, you take action, and you take some of those actions, and some of those things worked really well, and some of them were too hard or took too much time or took too much energy. You wouldn't continue to do those things the same way, but you might take a small thing from that, and then that's giving yourself accountability. But when you're in a community, you can talk about those things, like, this isn't really working for me. And then a friend's like, well, what if we came at like 3 instead of 9? And they're like, well, I could probably do that. And what if we only did 30 minutes instead of an hour? Like, do we really need the full hour? And it's like, yeah, I could probably do that. Oh, okay. So then now I've got accountability. Now I'm aware again. I can start the actions again and like run the system again. So that's like just continuous improvement that we could create there if we had that operating in the container community.
100%. I think it's so important to be able to have that and have people be able to hold each other and give space, and then also accountability to all of this.
Yeah.
Whether it's, health in all aspects of health and wellness, to be honest. But yeah, it's been a very cool journey so far, and there's still so much more to come.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm excited. By the way, I won't be there for Tuesday's event because I'll be in Mississippi. That's where I'm from.
Nice.
But now I'm from Chattanooga, actually. I always say, but I grew up in Mississippi, so I'm going to go back and visit my mom, do some hunting, stay at the cabin. Do you guys have Thanksgiving plans? You going to do the Grateful Gobbler?
Well, so my family's tradition for Thanksgiving is we always do a run, but it's usually like a family run. We don't like go do a turkey trot or like an organized race. But yeah, generally
just run
I go
from each other.
Yeah. But, no. So we usually go on a family group run on Thanksgiving Day, which is always fun. And I'm going to St. Louis, where my dad's side of the family's from. So I've got
nice
aunts and uncles and cousins and little first cousins once removed, or whatever the generational thing is. So, I've got family there, and that's going to be our Thanksgiving thing. But it'll be nice to get a little bit of family time in with the holidays for sure. So
very nice.
So just kind of thinking about all of this, we've talked about habits, we've talked about nervous system, we've talked about movement, we've talked about connection and collaboration and all of these things. And it really is, all of these are pieces of the puzzle, and there's so many different aspects that we could always continue to talk about. But I always like to ask people what their potential like resources are for where they like to get information, or if you have recommendations on books or things, because I always love listening to podcasts or audiobooks, and I'm always curious to learn more, I guess.
Yeah, one of the most impactful books, you talk a lot about recovery, that I've read recently is called Breath.
Ooh, okay. I've
The
heard that.
yellow cover book we got in our office.
Nice.
It's a guy, Breath, the book. Who's that written by? James Nestor. So he did a study on himself using like with the ideas of like mouth taping. He also did like a cross study on himself, but he plugged his nose and he only did mouth breathing.
Wow. Okay.
But one thing that I think is really fascinating when it comes to recovery and rest is like how our airways are function off of the autonomic nervous system, but then
Mhm.
also off of how we train and condition them. And this starts early in life. So he talks about a lot of those conversations, but we have those conversations around rest and recovery a lot with people because you'll definitely have more energy, feel a lot better. Your hormones will be healthier. Your hormones, your hormone factory, by the way, if you're interested in hormones, we've written a bunch of stuff recently on hormones in Substack. You can follow my Substack on that. But your hormone factory kicks on in the evening. So if you're getting like when you're sleeping, so if you don't go to sleep for very long, then your factory can't stay on for very long and it can't make the hormones you need. There's also problems with like, people on low fat diets. Like you need cholesterol and fat in order to make healthy hormones. So if you're on a no cholesterol diet and then you're like, I wonder why my hormones feel whacked out.
Yep.
Kind of look at that. And then the other one would be like insulin resistance and some of that. There's a bunch of stuff, we've been talking about with our clients on, especially like the physiochemical world or in the body. So I love biochemistry, but I kind of like that's been on my mind in sleep and recovery lately. From another one that we recommend for a lot of women who are interested in learning more about their cycle is a book called Woman Code. And it just talks a little bit. It's like one of the first books that I read that was like had ideas about cycle syncing and eating right for different phases of your cycle, and exercise that might feel better. So I like some of those conversations. Those are like relevant for my clients.
Yeah.
Love James Clear's Atomic Habits. I think it's great. So that's a
Great.
good place. He does a lot of storytelling in there, but I mean the practical aspects of that are really good. So yeah, those are just some like key ones that we talk a lot about. Of course, you've got like those big heavy books like Body Keeps the Score and stuff like that, bring acknowledgement to like the mental psychosomatic world of how much that's connected. So those
Yeah.
deep thought books.
Nice. The breath is one I can't remember who brought it up to me, but that's definitely one that was brought to my attention more recently. So I'm gonna have to seek out that one.
Pro tip too,
Mhm.
for breathing and training your jaw to have a
Mhm.
better position when you sleep at night. There's this like $100 device you can buy. It's called a MyoMunchie. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I don't have any special link. You just go to the website and order one. But it's so helpful for TMJ issues. But it also is just something you wear right before you go to bed. You don't sleep with it in, but it just creates that positioning change. And it also helps just your teeth over time. It's been a really like cost per benefit.
Yeah.
Such a good tool. I use one, before I go to bed, and it helps me sleep a lot better.
That's awesome. Very good tip. Well, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the breath book. You can read more about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I will definitely dive into that for sure. And I think that all these, like, there's so many good action points too. That was something else I wanted to like highlight. Was there's so many good action points throughout this entire thing that we've talked about.
yeah.
And like, the dream, can you say the
Yes.
dream one more time again? Because I feel
Yeah.
like that's such a good like to go through that and just like write that out.
Sure. And I actually have a little ebook that I've written with all of those concepts in it. It's called the
Oh yeah.
Health House ebook.
Oh
So
nice.
I'm happy to share that with you, and you can
Yeah.
share it with whoever you want. But
That'd be
it's dream. D is diet. R
Mhm.
is rest. E is emotions, not exercise. E is emotions. Um, A is attitude, different from emotions, because emotions are just what you're feeling. Attitude is what you decide to wear, like as your like ego of like, I feel like crap on the inside emotionally, but I'm going to
Mhm.
show up with a good attitude despite things feeling like, you know what.
Yeah.
So attitude, and then movement is the last one. So movement can be more than just exercise. It can be like just functional movement, breathing. It can be, moving your body around, getting your wiggles out. So yeah, that's how I've broken them down. Still there? I'm not sure if it froze. Libby. I'm not sure if I'm the one live or if she's the one live.
No.
Are you frozen? I hear your voice.
Ah. Wait a second. It totally went out for a second. That was weird.
Well, diet, rest, emotions, attitude, movement.
There we go. Okay, perfect.
High five.
High five. I love it.
That's right.
Amazing. That's so good. Okay, and then so as we like wrap all this up, where can people find you? Where should we kind of direct people to learn more about whether they're in Chattanooga or just from an online perspective?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about my practice, you can go to thespecificchattanooga.com. If you want to learn more about me and some of the things I'm doing in town, my business, or some tools that we give people, you can go to drchriscollins.com. So drchriscollins.com. Another easy way to keep up, probably most active on Instagram. We are kind of active on Facebook, but more active on Instagram right now. That's at dr.chriscollins, or you can follow at the specific chat.
Nice. Amazing. Yeah. And then you have, I'm not sure if it's changing this month because of the holiday, but you normally have like a meetup that you also do. Is that correct?
So yeah, we have a whole like community arm of our business where we do a bunch of things to just bring people together locally. Yeah. And it's called Love Local Chat. So we collaborate with some other businesses on that. But we do a monthly happy hour where it's just a time to connect with your community. It can be networking if you want. It can also just be, I'm really tired after a long day of work and I just want to unwind with some cool people. So that's fine too. We don't have people like dishing out, cards there.
Yeah.
If they do, we're like, okay, I'll just put it in my pocket and like, what else is going on?
Right. It's chill.
It's not like your typical like networking event. It's meant to be not like that. It's meant to be like less stuffy and more just connection driven. And speaking of that, we do host a Love Local Chat podcast you can follow.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Are easy ways to get connected with that side of that community arm that we do.
Definitely. Well, I love all of that. And I'm excited to keep the conversation going, and I'll miss you at this next Human Health Collective. But
I know I've enjoyed the lesson so much. I was bummed to miss this one, but I'll try to make the next one. Yes. And by the way, the last Community Connections we did was on Wednesday, yesterday. And then we will have the specific holiday open house, which anyone's welcome to come to. I'll send you the link for that. Yeah. That's on December 18th from 6 to 9 at our office. So just show up unannounced if you want, but also if you want to RSVP, we've got a link for that. And then next year we'll start back with Community Connections every fourth Wednesday at Common House Social Bar from 6 to 8.
Perfect. Great. Yeah. Cause it's always the day after the Human Health Collective, because the Human Health Collective is the last Tuesday from 5:45 to 8. So
we need to tell people, go to that one and go to this one.
Definitely. We can definitely cross collaborate on that. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for having this conversation with me today. And I know we've got so many more conversations in the future, keeping it going. But it's really been a pleasure getting to know you even more, even just in the last like couple months. And so I'm really excited for all of the things that you do, and just kind of keeping up with all of the things community wise, health wise, etc. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and I enjoyed our conversation too, and look forward to seeing you in the future.
100%. All right. Bye, everybody.
All right. See you, everybody.
See you.